Moulton, Granada TV. Mr. Clegg, at your conference, Polyconference, you talked about the offshores and wanting to make sure that money doesn't leave the United Kingdom for offshores particularly. Have you gleaned anything today from meeting with the other people here from Jersey, Guernsey and the Isle of Man about how they work and how they make their budgets balance?
Well, I think is it Guernsey or Jersey who's got a law against having any deficits whatsoever, which
and the Isle of Man.
And the Isle of Man, right? So well, there you go. That would be a pretty draconian solution to the world's problems. I think you're talking about sort of the varied sort of fiscal jurisdictions which exist in the Crown dependencies, and that is a fact which we will continue to sort of promote and defend, but within the context, obviously, of wider moves within the European Union and internationally in order to make sure that there is full transparency in all tax jurisdictions and that tax jurisdictions don't coexist in a way which creates perverse incentives to investors and so deprive exchequers of legitimate income, and that's an ongoing discussion which we have. We touched on it only sort of briefly in the margins of this summit, and that's really, I think, an ongoing process which hasn't really been altered by the content of this summit.
Do you have any views on 0-10 taxation?
Well, that's, as I say, that's something which is covered by the Code of Conduct group, which is a European Union construct, and that is part of a wider attempt to try and create greater stability and transparency in the different sort of tax jurisdictions which we have within the Isles represented here, but of course within the European Union generally.
You said students are unsettled. I think that's kind of, to put it mildly, really. I mean, a lot of people feel betrayed. They voted for you, you said, we're not going to raise tuition fees, and then get into government, and that's exactly what you do. What message would you say to people who feel betrayed by your party?
I guess the most simple thing I would say is this: in politics, it's a damn sight easier to deliver on what you promised if you win an election. I know this is unfashionable in politics. I have to underline the fact that we lost. We came third. We have 57 MPs in a coalition government, so we have to make compromises. And in government, of whatever composition, you also need to acknowledge the way that the world is, not the way you'd perhaps like it to be. I'd love to wave a magic wand and say we don't have to take any difficult decisions, but there is no money left. And an increasing number of people quite rightly want to go to university. When I went to university in the late 80s, 1 in 7 school leavers went to university. Now it's 1 in 3. So there's been an absolute explosion in the number of people going to university, which is a great thing. We could have slashed the number of people going to university. That's one way of trying to square the circle. I think that would have been wrong and indefensible. So what we've come up with instead is a graduate contribution system where no students, and let me say that again, no students, for the first time since fees were introduced by Labour, will face any upfront fees whatsoever. We're actually removing the upfront fees paid by the part-time students, which now make up 40% of the student population. So yes, it's difficult, yes, it's controversial, yes, it's unsettling. What I hope, as I said, is people concentrate on what it means for them and their families, their sons and their daughters. People will come to see that this is the best, fairest possible way forward.
Please like and subscribe to the Isle of Man TV channel. Thank you.